I was thinking about doing a video about the NBA. I don't know. Everything's gonna be about what Giannis does with Dame in Milwaukee. NBA opened back to school night. Actually, even maybe more so than the NFL because the hype is everybody's got hope. Everyone is hyped up. How my team gonna do? I'm curious about the Denver Nuggets. Will they be able to repeat? Jokic. No one's talking about them. They don't get their due. They don't get their respect. So I want to see what they come out like against the Lakers. Everybody's talking about the Lakers. I'm tired of LeBron. I'm tired of Anthony Davis. I don't have no expectations there. Really. Clippers are gonna be interesting, but how long will that be interesting? In the West, Phoenix got a lot to prove because Kevin Durant is entering his, well, we say almost in the dog days. It's almost over. So, it's like I'm gonna bring some light because my light was a little bit dim. That's better for me to see. Um, Dallas is gonna be a big year with Kyrie and Luka. That's gonna be real interesting. Sacramento, was it a fluke? I like Mike Brown's head coach. I don't think it was a fluke. We'll see. Golden State's got a lot to prove. What will Steph do? Will Chris Paul, will that work out? What that mix will be like? So the West, I mentioned some teams. Minnesota, are they on the come up or are they fraudulent? OKC is gonna be real interesting with Shea Chris. What's up, man? Yeah. I like Chet. Chet is nice. And Shea Chris, I think they got a nice squad. We're going to see what happens with Portland. That's going to be interesting with that whole flip. A lot of teams got flipped. We're going to see what that means. New Orleans got eyeballs on them. Will Zion play? Will Brandon Ingram, what they got? That's going to be interesting. These young teams can make some statements, hopefully. If they don't, and they're going to sit there and kowtow LeBron and Steph, see. I'm looking forward to seeing what Denver does because if they can, they repeat. Because I really believe Jamal Murray, people ain't talking about it. I think that cat got a lot to prove, and I think he gonna come on some folks. That's why I expect everything with Bam, Jimmy Butler, what they gonna do. Everybody's traded, thought they were gonna do something. Yeah, good call about him. Yeah, I did a video about him. I know it was just a preseason game against New York, but Jordan Poole, because he has no weight, no pressure, no expectations. He can look scarier than Bradley Beal in Washington. He sure can. He can score. If he's steady, he ain't got ice spice and nice spice and old spice and all the spices missing in his blend. He can be a problem. He can be a problem. Boston has got to again. They stacking up. We're gonna see. I keep hearing about the duo of Brown and Tatum. I was like, okay, well, y'all gonna have to bring y'all got Porzingis. So what's your excuse? If you don't now, what's your excuse? So we're gonna see what happens with them. Obviously, Milwaukee, everybody's got our bullseye on Giannis and Dame. Can they stay healthy? Can they stay focused? Will they miss Drew Holiday or will they benefit without it? There's a lot that's on there. So that's a compelling story. Joel Embiid in Philly, he's one of them MVPs. It's kind of like with Steve Nash. I'm not taking the MVP away from you. I just don't buy you as a chip level player. I don't buy you as championship worthy. And therefore, I have an asterisk and a question mark about what you're going to do. So I don't really, I don't know. And James Harden, he got the munchies, so he's got the crunchies. The problem is that when you have situations like that, but I do like Nick Nurse as their coach. Make no mistake about it. They're going to be an interesting story. I think that's going to be an interesting story. If nothing else, something will give. The Knicks going to see if they can piggyback off of what they started last year. Brunswick, we're going to see Brunswick. We're going to see if that's what they got. We'll see whether the Knicks a flash in the pan or was it real. We're going to find out. Because they got some pieces they just have to figure out together. Yeah, he loved him as a player. And this is one of the greatest players ever. Problem he run into, great players don't usually make great coaches. Because people are going to look at the fact that he coached Giannis and now he's got Luka. I'm not talking about Kyrie. I'm talking about the young cats that he got. And you get these opportunities with center cornerstone players, you got to win. So if you don't, his butt could be like a grilled cheese sandwich. He could get fried up. I think they need some size, but I think more of a bench. I think they can kind of get away without a center, but I think they need a bench and they need guys that got some size. They need some road dogs because they got a tenderosity about them. I think they got a little tender. He was. I grew up with our listen. I remember Cal State. I remember him like yesterday. I remember how everything went where he worked himself to be in the cold rookie of the year with Grand Hill. I remember. And I remember his hair colors and how it didn't work out in Phoenix because he was trade bait. People don't understand. It took guys sometimes to find their game, their identity, because even though he was a better player than, say, Chauncey Billups was, Jason Kidd had to do some shuffling, just like Stephon Marbury did, till he got to a place where it came together, and Chauncey too. So Kidd took a while. When he got to the Nets, though, he figured it out, and he got robbed out of MVP, but they said because he knocked the French fry his ex-wife. I think that was because he could have been an MVP. But he was a diva. He was. And that worked against him in certain circles because as great as he was, he could also be just into his ways. But I think it's going to be interesting how this works out with Luka. I'm going to have to say it. Light-skinned, non-threatening, even though he had some rough around the edge, thug-ocity type of situations because Kid was kind of would put them hands. He did kind of put some hands. He wasn't soft. Don't let the light skin fool you. He wasn't soft, and he popped off and he kind of had some situations because I remember the whole Jimmy Jackson and him and all that and Tony Braxton mess, which I don't know, but back in Dallas, I remember that like yesterday, but they weren't going to use that against him because they took the MVP away from him and they gave it to Duncan. And now you can't really argue against Duncan, but, he definitely is two-tone. He's two-tone. That's a term I use when a cat can go street and hood. He's two-tone. He's very two-tone. Two-tone also can mean that you can play corporate too. So he's very two-tone. He's two-tone. The way they be hating on black coaches, and especially when I see where I consider mediocrity, you're very right on that because nobody wanted the Milwaukee gig. No one saw Giannis becoming Giannis. So, but then to get Luka, yeah, you're right on that part. Because usually you get hooked up like Mike Doo-Doo Brown and they send your butt. If you're a black and you get multiple coach jobs, you be like Bernie Bickerstaff or somewhere, and they send your butt to Saudi Arabia in the NBA and not to be heard from, and they laughing at you. So he did get the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, he's from Old Town, and his mentor was Gary Payton. So, except GP, he worked him, schooled him on, but Kid, he was shine. Got handles, because learned to shoot the threes he got later. That's what you do. John Stockton, floor spacing, movement. Stockton was such a technician, backcourt, knowing how to get out of traps and holes and utilizing and also understand the clock and motion and movement. So, but the only difference is that Giannis doesn't play with us. He doesn't utilize the post. They play, Lopez and them play out on the perimeter. But Stockton is underrated as a teacher. As crazy as he is with his pandemic stance and all that, that's one of the greatest players ever and one of the most knowledgeable, one of the most deepest, thoroughest cats you could want. They just went against a better Bulls team and they didn't have a center and they never had consistency. But yeah. Oh, yeah. Once he got Damian Lillard, he wasn't going nowhere. But he wanted a different coach and he wanted to get a player that had top tier quality. That's what it was. That's how he talks through the media. See, all different superstars do different tactics. Some will air out and say this, some will say it like this, but it's all slide, but it's, so yeah. Mm-hmm. I know you're dying to ask me about some football. I just been on this basketball because I can go back and forth with it. And I know you are dying to talk about my football takes too, because, I was talking about that game last night. Some people was tripping on Brock Purdy. I don't think that he's going to be great, but I think consistent. But Kirk Cousins is most frustrating because that team should be better than what they were, I like how our boy took that rock though for that be interception, ran and took the rock and ran in. Minnesota is a dangerous team if they get in, but they still got a soft tag because Kirk Cousins is one of those wishy-washy cats, but that's another story. But no, I'm not surprised by Giannis signing. Not surprised at all. I thought that he was going to stay in Milwaukee. He's going to be like Steph. He's going to play for one team and keep on. Ain't going to be bouncing. Problem with Purdy is that if you make him roll to his left and throw across to the middle, that's where he gets exposed. He tends to have too much arch when he's throwing across the middle. I noticed that more than anything. I think his scrambling, and I think he hits people in the stride, but if you make him have to throw that ball over the middle across his body, and it's more than 10, 15 yards, yeah, he has a tendency to be kind of heavy-handed. But having said all that, that was a winnable game, just like the game against Cleveland. Think about it. 1 or 2 plays here and there, they win the game. So, yeah, Kelsey's been on it since Taylor, but Mahomes is the gold standard. And I might catch some heat. I might catch some heat for what I say. Only Brady and Montana better in my eyesight. I got him tired all the time already. All due away, Johnny Unitas, Marino, whoever you want to throw in there, I got Mahomes. One of the reasons why I got Mahomes, because he's a black quarterback who's already been dominant, got 2 rings, 3 Super Bowls, 5 straight AFC championship appearances, 2 league MVPs, 2 Super Bowls, got a resume. He got the kind of resume that if Aaron Rodgers had right now, they would want him for president. And they trying to make him vice president as we talk. Mahomes is already a made man established. So he's chasing goats, real goats. So that's why Kelsey got a chance to be something else. Josh Allen can't step up because he's being stepped down. They want him to be something he's not. He's a hurdler. He has to play his game. He has to play that Ben Roethlisberger got out. The problem is they got a running game, but they don't have any plays. They need another playmaker receiver. They need to utilize their formations. They are too stagnant. He looks robotic. He gets caught trying to be he's lethargic. They have slow starts, and they end up having to play come from behind games against whack quarterbacks. That's the problem. I don't think Herbert is overrated. I think he's got the wrong coach. I think his mechanics can be fine-tuned. He doesn't have the right coach. That's what's killing off a lot of cats. Yeah. Heck yeah. Like tomorrow, like right now. Are you kidding? Please. That's what they need. A possession-style guy who would give you almost like an Andre Reed, because he's almost like a 2.0 Andre Reed, slashing over the middle. They need a guy that can create. All that bam, bam, wham, bam, deep routes ain't cutting it because everybody knows and can smell what you're going to do. And then he gets caught throwing bad picks or trying to be playing hero ball when he don't have to. I like Herbert, but he got the wrong coach. And I think that he has to time himself. But he gets caught in full quarter, can't finish. But a lot of it is just the fact that he's got a whack coach. I still think Herbert is a legit quarterback, but you'll never know it if he keeps on with that Gomer Powell head coach. They suck. They're a waste of talent as usual. The Chargers, for all these greatness, and I'm gonna tell you something. You grew up back in the day, from the Fouts era, Stan Humphries days, Drew Brees era, to Herbert. They've always had top tier quarterbacks and receivers, but they just don't finish. They're frustrating. I like James Cook in the backfield. I don't think we need Derrick Henry. I mean, I like Derrick Henry, but James Cook is nice back there. They running all right. They got to get him more touches. I mean, yeah, if you get Derrick, I like James Cook. James Cook is nice. I think Evans is the call because they need another playmaking receiver slasher. See, if you're a Bills fan, you know as great as Andre Reed was, we got James Lofton. We was about near unbeatable. Ran a different offense. You can say Josh Allen is Jim Kelly 2.0, but he had a Marv Levy who's willing to. Sean McDermott don't know what he's doing on offense in the show, and I don't think he can coach ego as far as superstar players, and I think it's killing him off. Just saying, that's my personal opinion. I don't like what they do on offense, and I don't like how they utilize the schemes. They're just too predictable. It's frustrating. And that's one of the reasons why the Bills, their defense has been good. I think he's done a good job on defense of calling. But offense, for the Birds. You can't be struggling with a constipated Giants team, making Zach Wilson look like a hero, and making Mac and Cheese Jones beat your. I mean, come on. They got a big game against Tampa Bay. They better make Baker Mayfield like Baker Mayfield that we all know and love, or they in trouble. They in real trouble. And the thing with Jacksonville, yeah, they just missing the quarterback. But I know these Jet fans are gonna come out here and act like, oh well, we had Aaron Rodgers. I don't know, because the Jets are still missing something on offense, and it ain't just the quarterback. It would be an upgrade, but there's something that I still think they need a better coach. I don't think Saleh is a good coordinated mind. I'm just not buying the Mike Vrabel-esque of him. That's who he reminds me of, Mike Vrabel, who coaches Tennessee, like one of those meaty, tight end type of head coaches. I'm just not buying it. I think they need somebody who can really put the sheen to the shine. That's the only problem I have with that. So, but they're going to be feisty. They definitely are going to be a problem if they get to stick around. When they play Miami, we're going to find out a whole lot about the Jets. Yes, we will. So, yeah, and Philadelphia looked great against Miami. That's the deal with Philly and Frisco. I think Frisco got the better overall team, but Jalen Hurts is the dude. He's not reading plays. He's throwing balls into coverages, and sometimes I don't know what he's looking at. He's slinging, he's athletic, but he's trying to create on the move without slowing it down and staying focused on what's around him. Some of that is coaching, though. They haven't prepared him, and you're not going to come in and be Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. And they're not as good as what they were. I mean, we'll keep it 100. Aaron Rodgers was very mediocre last year, and camouflaged a lot of stuff because the division was watered down. I mean, it is still a watered down division in Detroit, front and center, and then Minnesota sometime. And Green Bay could get hot, because I'm not sold that Detroit's going to finish up like they're supposed to. They should. But he's got work to do. He's got technical issues. Yeah, and see, the thing about an NFL, that's not going to work, because cats are specialists. You have too many specialists like agents who will zero in on one step off, and that's a pick six. So they have to work on mechanics with him. And I'd say simplify his game. Run some draw plays, run a few screens, run some counters. Don't get him caught looking, because he does have a nice touch when he's accurate, but he's thrown too many zombie balls, which that's not going to cut it. So, and the sad part for him is they lost a lackluster Denver team, but will he ever be the half of Russell Wilson? Or will he be another Seneca Wallace? I thought I'd throw that name at you because I do know something about Packer quarterbacks. And I remember when Seneca Wallace played for Seattle. If McCaffrey didn't get hurt, I would have said him. Because I'm non-traditionalist that if I see the best player that I see and the way he was carrying Frisco, but if Mahomes plays like this, but like I already told you, it's his world. Yeah, he was, but that's what I was saying. Because everybody in mine used to love the Seahawks and used to talk about Seneca. I used to clown all the time. He was. Probably Mahomes. Probably. Especially if they stay consistent and healthy and focused. And right now, they're not even playing. They're not even hitting their apex, and they're winning. And if he can do that, they win 13, 14 games, yeah, he's going to get it. And like I said before, he's in that zone right now where awards are adding up, rings are adding up. That's why I got him third all-time already, because I can see it. I don't not one of them people that need – sometimes you see greatness. You don't need 10, 12 years to say, oh, yeah, this guy's this. You can see it. He gets it. He's that dude. He's the one that everybody's chasing. He's the one. Everybody's chasing Mahomes. It's Mahomes, and you got a great talent. Yeah. I mean, he gets it. He's the only quarterback I've ever seen in my life could be down 20 points in the fourth quarter, less than 5 minutes, and you still ain't out the game because he has that kind of it. I have not seen another quarterback. I've seen guys who would come back on your butt, but not like him. Not like him. As a Bills fan, that 13 seconds, I'll never forget that as long as I live. That told me all I need to know about why that man is as great as he is. That was his legend moment right there. And Josh Allen ain't played no better than that since. And I don't think he'll, in too many quarters, can play better than what he did that game. But Mahomes, you know, there are levels to this, and there are certain players that just have that it. It's like they shake it up. Yeah, they did. But their alls was different. Montana was methodical how he would do it. He could hit a big play on you, Rice, or he hit you with a big one with Freddie Solomon, or just the way he would stay in games, he stayed cool. Brady came back, but it wasn't like again. The difference between what the three is that Mahomes' situation is so uncanny because I've seen double-digit leads where they just look bad, and he would throw haymaker. He just has an uncanny ability, unlike that. But they all were three of the greatest, and that's why I hold them as I do. They're my three standard quarterbacks in my lifetime, and he belongs in that conversation. Well, Lamar, I told you, people be hating. He played like that. He can beat Mahomes. He's one of the few I can say that about. And everybody wants the Lions to be this team, and everybody wants the Lions, and I did. But they got their butt ate up. They got the doorknobs and handles, the screws loose. Because they don't get to play against Lamar Jackson like every day. And they did not blow that game. They tore that behind up like they supposed to. They made a statement. And I'm never shocked or surprised with him. Because if they're consistent, he would be MVP consideration last year easily. They lost 2 or 3 games where they just choked. Wasn't on him before he got hurt. You know, he's that good. He's an MVP-worthy type of quarterback. He's one of those guys that you got to have top 4 or 5, regardless of who was ever having a better season. Because I don't care who you got to watch Lamar. You got to watch Lamar. The only thing that hurts him is the postseason and him not having enough. And it's sometimes his own choices in games, like that game against Pittsburgh. But when he plays like that Sunday, I still would take Herbert over Strauss, even though Strauss having a good rookie year. And you can make a case for Trevor Lawrence. Don't sleep on him, because that cat's coming. But I can't argue with. Obviously, Mahomes. Tua has played probably the next best. If Miami didn't look so fraudulent on defense and had consistency, they gave up 79 points and scored 37. That's what's gonna hurt Tua from being an MVP candidate, because their defense and they look soft. They're a one-trick pony. Josh Allen, yeah, he's still there. So if I got Josh Allen and Burrow in that argument, I gotta throw Trevor Lawrence or Herbert. Stroud is nice, but you're not gonna get a lot of love with Houston until you win some more games. And right now, because the division is kind of soft over there, people ain't really taking him so serious. But I am watching the kid. He got a nice game. He definitely belongs, but I don't know. It's hard to say. You know, because you can still make a case for Herbert on skills. You can still make a case for Trevor Lawrence. So it depends. But Strauss is definitely on the upper side of the team in the AFC. He belongs. If he makes some noise in the postseason and it gets to the postseason, then yeah. Mm-hmm. He's going to pay a price because they're not. He's had some shaky games himself, and they look so finesse. That's the only thing that's hurt him from in consideration, really, because the thing is set up to give quarterbacks the MVP, even though Tyreek is balling out his mind. So, yeah. I'd ask you who your NBA Finals picks would be, who you see early on. Be curious. I think we would love to see the Nuggets and the Bucks, because the Giannis and the Jokic, because everybody keeps saying if each whoever gets 3 out of those two, and they both have them in the teams. So, you know, that's one thing I will say right now with the NBA. You don't have to rely on the big cities, the big names anymore, because you got the balance. That's a good pick. A rematch, huh? Couple of legacies would be, well, Dame would have, that would be a big for Dame. Devin Booker, that's a storyline. Durant against Giannis, because you can look at Durant and Giannis and say, if I didn't have my foot behind him, we go to the finals, you don't win a chip. And maybe he's still in Brooklyn. I think so too. I think Phoenix is, with Frank Vogel's style of defense, they will make something. They to me, after I get past Denver, should be the second, the third best team in the West. The second. That's how I feel. And Milwaukee should come out the East if they're healthy and motivated. And they, every other year when they lose to Miami, and they come back the next year, and then they get it back. So we're going to see what happens. We're going to see. Now, that is electricity there. Could happen. I would imagine one of these younger teams, and I think they would be the one, because I'm not sold. I know New Orleans can be so jivey, and Minnesota's too soft, like a Hostess cupcake. So, yeah. But I think if Jokic is healthy, motivated, Jamal Murray plays like I think he's going to play, and Gooden come back, and yeah. I don't know if you're with baseball, but we're going to see what happens with Arizona and Philly tonight, because Game 7, Texas tore Houston up. The Astros are the strangest baseball team I've ever seen, because they can't win at home, and yet they're so always in the mix. And been the best team over the last decade, but they're so frustrating. Texas looks good. They got the bats. Bruce Bochy's one of the best managers. What happened with Philly and Arizona tonight is going to be interesting, because that was a big win for Arizona last night. So we'll see. The World Series could be real interesting this year. So, yeah. Got to do it tonight, because Arizona ain't nothing to play. I don't have a rooting interest in it, because my Yankees are long gone, so I ain't got no interest. And that team out in LA, who I thought LA and Atlanta were going to be something. So, but I am impressed with the Phillies. Back to back, you go, because people understand baseball is so hard to get to. Yeah. But I did laugh about what you said about Cynical Wise. That cracked me up. It's true, though. George is nice. He's great, and he fits in. That was a good pickup by Texas. So it was a good pickup. They definitely got a chance, because they've been to 3 World Series since 2011. I remember when Claudio Washington was their manager, and I think there was the whole cocaine fiasco. Some mess went home, but and remember when Kenny Rogers had the Dookie ball? That was hilarious, wrong, sick, but. Yeah. So. But we'll see, though. I mean, Ron Washington. Yeah, Ron. I was thinking Claudio. I think about Claudio. Ron Washington. And the whole thing. I'm thinking about the former player, Claudio Washington. But Ron, yeah. And I remember that, because he got the back-to-back World Series. And a black man coaching the Texas Rangers and getting to World Series. I'm like, come on now. And they were really good back then, too. They were really good. So. It's interesting that they're back. They got a nice hitting squad, and I said Bruce Bochy can manage. So, it's going to be interesting what they do. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, I was talking about that. He was back-to-back World Series. They let him go, and he came back years later. But Cito never did get his due. But yeah, he came up big when they had Dave Steep, and remember they had. Winfield was there, and Joe Carter came up huge. So I remember. was great. Now I was talking about that brother that played for Washington, Josh Allen, who dissed Washington at the football game. He said he'd been there 7 years, and he went in on the team while they lost it. And I was like, right on. I definitely like that. Pardon me. He talked about it. Mm-hmm. And that was an ugly game too, by the way. So, yeah. He will after the season. He wants to evaluate where they are. He doesn't want any distractions. We know Sam Howell ain't gonna get the job done. The enemy ain't gonna get. See, and he got set up in a situation without having a proven quarterback. I think the only way that the enemy can get the job is they can blend Kyler Murray. You heard it here first. We'll get this dog cat. Anybody that's a mobile, athletic quarterback, that's what I see that they need to do. That's what I think Washington will do. Magic is watching them. He knows. He hears the rumblings. I expect Rivera to be on. And it's waiting for them to quit on him. So, we'll see. Oh, yeah, you would too. Imagine if I'm camped out in January and I know I'm going to be playing in February. I know at the least I'm playing late January. I'm getting that bonus money. Duh. So you went from the penthouse to the house. I mean, come on there. You you went from a supermodel to a pet house pet. I mean, I'm talking about Mahomes. You go 5 straight years to AFC Championship game. You know you're gonna get a home game. You win. You dominate. Life don't get much better than that. Especially when you got to coach a team like Washington, because even though they got rid of Daniel Snyder and all that lingering stench is still there, that they can't attract enough offensive weapons. They can't get a decent enough quarterback. And that's why they look like they're going to be a casualty. And if they get 7 wins, 6, 7 wins, they should count their lucky stars. So, as I say, it is what it is. So, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. That's how I feel about that. I did touch on that video about why Shaq and Kobe didn't get the same love as Kareem and Magic. I talked about not being excited. So I'll tell you about that. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that play out last week. I didn't do a video on it because who the heck is Jerry Jeudy? I mean, really. I mean, and you play for the Broncos, you should wear a bag over your head because you suck. And Steve Smith Sr. had every right because Steve Smith Sr. could still catch a sideline pass without trying right now in a 3-piece suit. And I know Jerry got in his field. They do. They all do. They don't want to hear it because they want clicks and views and likes and streams. They want everybody to. If you play for the Denver Broncos on offense and you're a receiver, you need to show me something because right about now, I don't even think you can score too many touchdowns in a gym by yourself, let alone. And also Russell. They need to call out the pieces that are putting the ball to him. Play calling is not working. The team is not working. And it's bad chemistry. So I'm never shocked or surprised when former players come out and say, hey, this guy sucks or he's a problem. So, but Rod Smith knew how to be detailed. It's a different era now. And not finishing up, so I'm not surprised or shocked with that. So that's what I see with that, though. Yeah. But yeah, I was just talking about why Shaq and Kobe weren't as exciting as Magic and Kareem because they had all the attention and the diva. And I remember David Stern came up back in '04 and said he wishes he could have LA against him. But yeah, he's playing for him, but he's not going to be, he's still in development. But that, was just a different era of basketball, because Magic made everybody look like something, and that's the problem the Lakers didn't have. So Phil Jackson's way of keeping it small and low key, and so what you gonna do? It was, but I got a news flash for you. I saw the '83 Sixers, and it was magical too. 444. Moses was the same, almost same record. That's why I hold Shaq and how I do, because he was doing Shaq things. He was just bamming on people and lead them in the dust. It was just incredible. But my boy played defense though. So yeah, but they were great. They were great. It's just different when you ask me, because style. Phil Jackson ran the triangle. It wasn't a lot of romanticism. Whereas with Pat Riley's system, they got to flex. They got to just kind of do what they do. So I don't think he necessarily forced them. I'm going to tell you like this about Tim Duncan, who I hold in entire regard, one of my 5 greatest players. Duncan did what Anthony Davis wants to do. And Duncan was a twin. He wasn't scared to post and whatnot, because he did bang. Duncan doesn't get due. He hits some boards. He makes plays. He's physical. It's just that he wanted to be more out in the fault. Whereas if he came out today, he'd be considered a point power forward. But back then, you had to kind of give and play with the system. So, yeah. So, but nobody forces great players to do nothing. They tend to different than they do. If he can get him a little bit more upper body, Victor Wamba just needs a supporting cast on the perimeter to knock down shots, drive to the hole, and you might see something. Get him in a position where he's comfortable. So that's how I look at that. But Victor does look good, though. Victor got handles. Victor can move, just to put a little more bulk on him, and probably just, with the cast he has around him. So that's how I kind of look at it, though. He's as tall as Ralph Sampson, but he looks like he's a better scorer than Ralph. Ralph could move, but Ralph was more dependent on Magic Johnson. Victor doesn't have to depend on the guard play. Now, what they'll need to do is knock shots down, and they'll need to have to know dribble and penetrate and open up for him. But he got handles. He can move. That's the difference. Ralph was better when he was VA of Virginia College, when he played for Virginia. His college years was better than his pro years because he also wasn't as hurt as much. But Ralph, you could have said Yao Ming. So, and he's a little bit more developed too. So, that's what I say about that. But he is tall. He got handles. He can move. We'll see. So that's my thought. I don't think he's going to duck him. I think the problem, and I think Anthony Davis, now that's going to be what's going to be telling. I don't know what kind of product San Antonio has, so I can't really say duck because it depends on what kind of product they have. I know there's certain teams that LeBron don't want that smoke from. I don't think he's going to be worried about the Rook too tough. Unless, of course, I go from that. So, I don't know if LeBron's going to duck anybody, though. Well, he's ducked certain people. I don't think he'll duck that though. Yeah, well, he's always trying to run some hustle, some, some one slickster, because he don't really want to be accountable. The problem with James Harden is he doesn't want to be the man. He wants somebody else to, be the dude that's the HNIC. And unfortunately, there's only one black male, and that's him. So he has to be able to do that, though. But yeah, he didn't pretty much make people forget about him. So that's how I look at James Harden. So, all right, him, I'm not really sweating James Harden. He's been moved around a lot. And he's turned into one of them Kardashians. He didn't turn so many tricks that he probably forgot where his pillow and his beard is. He didn't declined in his styling. He can't get the rest to suck on that whistle like it's the pipe. And he's starting to be on the back end where he's not going to be quite a six man, but he's on the low end. So good luck, Philly, with that, But really, why would anybody want to take him? I mean, yeah. Well, Donovan Mitchell can score. And they got a nice squad. I like what's in the center, but they're cupcake soft. They soft, and Donovan is soft. He can score if that's what you want. But what else can they do? When they played the Knicks in the playoffs, they got punched in the mouth, and the Knicks act like bullies and took their breakfast money, took their lunch money, took their go home money, took any money they thought of, and took their heart out. So the best, we're going you're mano a mano. You got that butt beat, and Cleveland ain't seen no gift package because they. Yeah, they do. They do. Trying to think who I pick. I'm trying to think. So I'm trying to think, who would it be? From New York. I mean, if Luka don't work in Dallas, but you have to give up the whole farm, I doubt that. But I got to think. I got a feeling that if they don't get him out next year too, he'll be 30. They'll trade him, and he'll have a busted knee, and then they'll be like, "We should have gotten someone from him." Because he can score, but there's a lot you got to deal with. Who's my sleeper team? See, because last year I would have told you New Orleans, but you saw that turned out in the West. So OKC, if Anthony Edwards' style took off for Minnesota, I'd say they should be, but I just don't know. In the East, I'm going to say Milwaukee and trying to think who would I. Only if I trusted their coach. I don't trust Jurgens and Lotion as a coach. I'm sorry. That whole thing with Dylan Brooks and that's great. I've seen turtles. I don't really partake in them, but if if I'm around them or see them at zoo, But Memphis, if, and that's a big if, Ja comes back, they can play with consistency, and a lot's going to depend because Steven Adams is out for the year. What will Derrick Rose in the tank? Marcus Smart's a big pickup, but what does it mean? So yeah, that's just kind of like I gotta say with that. But I like Memphis, but I don't know if you can be a sleeper team when you were supposedly the second best team in the West last year, and then you lost like you did, and then you know, so yeah, that's what I just got through saying, and that's a big one for them. So I don't know what they're gonna do, you know. So yeah, catching them. Yeah, definitely gonna say catch that. So yeah. I was trying to get my train of thought because Memphis is a hard juggernaut. Again, I just don't like how they're coached, and I think styles and something is off, and not just the whole thing with job, but something else is off though. Can't put my finger on it. So, well, yeah, I like Memphis, but I don't know if they can, you know. Team, I'm talking about a team that you didn't quite see going the next step, and Memphis has already gone steps. Have they peaked? Is the better question. I don't know. Because Ja only goes as far as Ja goes, and I don't know. Londo. Okay. Well, yeah, he should be doing good. How to utilize him could be real. I think that's very important. So we'll see. You know, I heard. I was trying to think of this put in perspective, but with Sacramento, you got to come on and play for a deal, play for whatever. Yeah, it doesn't seem like ordinary. So Banchero is good. I saw him in Duke. He's got handles. He can move. He just plays for Spain of the NBA, which basically in English means that if they win 26 games, they should have one block toilet parade. But he was nice though. So yeah, how about you in here? So we'll see. He's a good player though. He can score. Mm-hmm. The Dwight Howard, Shaquille O'Neal guy to clean them up, and so that makes a difference with certain guys. So a lot depends on that, but I do like his game though. So I liked him last year. He had a couple big games, and I definitely think he benefited from playing for Coach K. So he just that they sucked though. That's all. So that's my thoughts. Hold on, let me read this back. Yeah, and his brother has a Mac vibe going on. Well, let me tell you something. I got family in Missouri. Missouri's very backwards and racist, and they're not that hunky dory, because they're not. Because Mahomes is light skinned, and I have to bring this up because they're like, well, he's not too threatening, but they're watching. You know, I think I was wondering who the brother was up there, but yeah, so that's what I noticed there with that too. Mm-hmm. But they've been balling, so I mean, you know, his brother things is cool, so yeah. 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 But definitely, yeah. Definitely. Yeah, we'll see what happens with Lonzo and all that, Um, you know. But with me in the NBA, I don't really put a lot of stock early on, aside from looking for like if I see too much early in the crystal ball before December 1st, then I already know it's going to the finals. So uh, so yeah, but he's. Mm-hmm. Pachero is nice though. Pachero, he's a good pickup. Just plays in the you know broke league. Well, you get stats, but you're not winning much stuff. But he his offensive game look legit. So mhm. Yeah. So feel free to ask any more questions. We're talking predominantly NBA start of the season, talking NFL. If you want to talk baseball, if you want to talk music or movies, feel free to. There's a lot of topics out here to jump on. Feel free. So, so thank you for that question. Well, yeah, he, I might do a video about this. Now, I don't have Michael Jordan as the greatest player ever. I don't. I do have Richard Pryor as the greatest comedian, but I'm going to make this parallel. Chappelle is no, it's like he's trying to chase Pryor like LeBron with Jordan, and they're not the same. Pryor went through everything you could imagine racially, especially when he called out the gays on the stage in '77, got booed. Didn't get whiteballed for too long because they all had access to him, and that's another story, another video. Chappelle, to me, has been whitewashed in the sense that he's accessible. So folks is watching, and you say anything they don't want to hear you say, they're gonna come get you. I don't look at I mean, I might be in the minority. I don't look at Halle Berry as pulling the Candace Owens or Stacey Dash. Um, she played the game for crossover. She exposed her body parts, and she wanted to get that bag, and she got that token Oscar. She's got to lose. She stays out the spotlight. She's involved with the artist Van Hunt. So Halle ain't all up in the cameras and the videos. But you know, at the same time, she got hip to the game. She's been around long enough to know, you know. Someone's just like saying this and that. So, Oh, Biden cares. He cares because he's a politician. The problem he runs into is that people just don't felt him. They felt him as a second in command, not a top tier dog. And Kamala Harris is not offering anything as an objective because she's limited in her own situation. So, you know, the Democratic Party doesn't have anything that rivals enough to give him a run. But can he beat Donald Trump with the gloves off and having to deal with all this stuff? That's the problem. Because that's the problem in a nutshell. But he needs a mixture of voters, you know. And I can say for myself, I'm not wasting my time. I wouldn't waste my time, and he's a joke. So, you know, they're dropping flags a lot, so that's what's up. Flags like that, but now. Not this time around. I don't care how much she shuffles. I don't care if she twerks and she, got one of them old Cash Money remixes or something like that. No one is gonna sweat Kamala. Mm-mm. 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 Them days is gone. She had a chance for a moment, but they're not sweating her though. But I don't know what black vote he's gonna get. Because his track record is real spotty now. So I don't know what he can do. White folks don't like him, so not like that. Oh, of course, she's a player. She's a player. You ever heard of Willie Brown, the former mayor of Frisco? She was a side piece. So Kamala be out in these streets. She'll twirl her hair with the best of them, and then she'll get hood on you, and then she'll get Asian on you, and then she'll be whatever you need. She's a real chameleon. I don't know about Kamala Harris, and they call her Camille Harris. Look what me to call her. Because she's a Camille. Mm-hmm. She's a real Camille. She do whatever she got to do to peer down, and then she goes white on you. Just saying. Probably did. Oh, because she could have felt sorry for that two-piece that he got from Draymond, so she may want to, But probably did. She keeps up with what's going on. She's young enough to still care. Hey, that's an easy upside, okay? Please. Because Kamala looks better than Ice Spice. Ice Spice got a nice body, but Ice Spice is so gimmick ball it ain't even funny. That's a problem with a lot of these acts that are out now. They're gimmick ball. And that stream crap that made them look like they summoned, and then they come back with a little weak second, third song. Then all of a sudden they're going to have greatest hits. I'm like, come on now. But Jordan Poole going to do good with Washington. And give him about 4 or 5 years till he finishes jail sentence and what. I ain't studying. You know good and well when they send your butt to Saudi Arabia or Spain team that no one has no expectations for, and you can stat pad and flex and pose. 3 or 4 or 5 years, Steph be gone, Draymond be gone. There'll be a certain guard. Let's bring him back to a legit team. Watch. If he does what I think he's going to do in Washington. Because you see what Bradley Beal is now. There are these cats who are second tier, third tierish, high second tierish, middle second tierish cats. Stat pad, have games. But don't call, then they get in again. You'll see what I'm saying with him. Now, and Washington is a ping pong team. Then he gets in there, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. So he'll be all right. But yeah, that's definitely an upgrade, though. Big time upgrade. She probably wouldn't mind either. Probably don't. But I do think he's gonna do some things this year. And I think, he's just modeling in Washington. You see. You go to Washington, you ain't coming back until about 3 or 4 years. Then when they get ready, they bring you back. Mm-hmm. I love Curry. You know I do. As a matter of fact, me and Two Raw, I've had my own videos. I got him top 10 ever. I got him even over LeBron for me for impact and changing the game. And they got the same amount of rings and impact. And I got him over. Look, I grew up loving Magic. But if you're going to say a point guard, I get Steph. But I think Magic Johnson is a better player. And I think Magic may be the GOAT. I can make an argument. I can't make the argument for Curry. But for what he's done in his position, but Stephen A is just trying to get views and clicks here. No. Does he belong in the sentence with him? Yes. I'm going to tell you why. Because Steph's a leader. Steph runs that ship. Clay is his Scotty. I still believe that if Clay went somewhere else and was just a scorer and he was healthy and motivated with both sides of the rock he played for, he'd be a freak. But Steph runs that show. Steph has an uncanny ability, the timing. He has a presence about him. And he intimidates people. He had cats on their heels half court because he can pop that thing 40, 50 feet. He can pop that thing and hurt your feelings. So are we talking about his impact and all that? He belongs in the same sense with Jordan. If you're talking about closing, no. That's a lot of Steph, but no. Zeke was one of my favorite players back in the 80s growing up. And I loved his game. But again, I can't take him over Steph because Steph has changed the course of the game. And when a man makes position players positionless, that's just like being a pimp on the street and you tell us, take off your clothes and I want to see the money and put it there, and then that's what you do. And it's almost like it's positionless. It's hard for me to take to me because he's changed it in such a way that it's not even the game I remember from 10 years ago. And that's the effect of Steph. As a matter of fact, if you're 7 foot, you better learn how to shoot a three or you're going to be riding the pine. And you don't have a position. He's changed it. He makes you switch over. He makes you come out of here. Why do you think LeBron still can shoot or trying to shoot arch? As for your last question, they don't think he's worth it. He came off with 2 major injuries. Did help with the championship, but he looked kind of lethargic last year in the postseason. I think they'll give him some money, but I mean, he has to be a realist to understand. He has to be a realist to understand where he's at and how he in the fold, because his steps are off. They really need Andrew Wiggins to come back from what his situation was last year, personal. And then Clay can slide as the third option. If CP3 gives them anything, then they're dangerous. But Clay at this stage can have a game or two or so. He looks like top dog or second best, but he can't beat. And don't forget about Draymond. That's the problem that Clay runs into now because the wear and tear is catching up. And I saw it. Oh, yeah. I mean, to me, yeah. LeBron doesn't make his teammates better. I haven't seen anyone that I'd say. You got turkeys right now who will tell you that Draymond Green is a cross between Magic Johnson and Charles Barkley, who I saw both play in their peak and the prime. They'll tell you that with a straight face. That's the Steph effect. Who has LeBron James played with that was younger than him, that wasn't established, that had this great where you go, oh, I'm listening. Or when they tried it with Kyrie left. Kyrie's the only one you can kind of make that case for. But they didn't make each other. They tolerate each other, intimidated. But D-Wade turned it over to him, so it's like, okay. I mean, nobody. At 38, he was averaging 20. I remember this very well. Washington wasn't a particularly good team, but they would have been in playoff contention had he been healthy. They would have been a lower seed third, but they could have been a little bit of a problem in the first round. He obviously at 38 was not what he was, but he still had some moments. And I will say that he was going at it. But it did feature the young guys there too. But what I saw when he played at 38, he said his body wanted to do what his mind wanted to do what his body couldn't do the most. He wasn't able to have it with consistency. Problem I had with him in Washington the second year, he got this hour game crew. They tried to bring Stackhouse, tried to bring the North Carolina Tar Heel thing. Made the mistake of bringing Doug Collins back and Kwame Brown. They just didn't work and it wasn't cohesive and the guys weren't on the same page because not only is him being one of the greatest players ever, but he's also a veteran. You're not going to get 20-some-year-old cats snapped into, oh, we're with him. They're going to be in awe of him, but he wasn't able to, and that's what the thing was. But they still, if he's healthy, he could have been a playoff team. I don't think they get too far, though. But it is a tribute to his well, Larry Bird, I hope Bird we'd have had commercial airlines and playing and he got to play. I mean, yeah, it was different. Reggie Lewis, what happened with Reggie Lewis and that was a big thing in that final year. So they had some problems, they had some situations, but yeah, Bird played longer. He would. Oh, okay, I have to check that video, Nate. I appreciate that. That going on a lot. That goes on a lot. She do a Will Smith piece on him. Okay, I'll check that out. I'm gonna go back and check that out. Thank you for that. But I will say this though. Jordan was trying to teach. And it was very vulnerable when I remember watching it. LeBron's still stat padding, and he was so busy trying to pass Kareem and Anthony Davis was kind of being used as a scapegoat, and Austin Reeves was a little bit of a revelation. They don't play team ball. So, I will say that about Jordan. He was actually, he knew he didn't have a top-tier team. And he knew that he was playing as amongst one of the guys, but it was still, he still gave a good effort. I mean, but he was a different player at 38. LeBron is too. But LeBron's impact ain't the same. He can average 28, 29, 30 points and 7, 8 assists and rebounds and stuff, but it doesn't reflect the outcome. They're just a mediocre team who is deficient and has holes in it. Yeah, well, he did. He did. Because he wanted to get it done last year. I noticed it. They had some lackluster games, and he was out there playing the fourth quarter, and and he, he's at a stage and a point. He's trying to make every minute and moment count. I don't know what's gonna happen with his son's dream about coming to the NBA. I ain't no one said nothing about that. So playing alongside each other. But the NBA has wanted to push LeBron. They want to minimize Kareem. I'm not taking nothing away from his scoring record and his longevity. I just don't like it when people who come along who either ain't seen the way guys played the way it was, or the fact that they have homogenized the game so much to create a guy and blow it up that, well, I would too. It was sad. I'm going to tell you why. Because the NBA was so racist and so wrong to Kareem. I mean, I know he was standoffish and could come across arrogant and smug, but they never offered him a job. They never offered him commissioner. They never gave him any ownership. They never approached a man of his magnitude, of his dignity. He might be the GOAT. Because you could argue if you want. Who can say high school, college on this stuff? And I've watched a lot of careers, and I get on this. And Kareem got the most unstoppable shot. He was a winner. It was great. I think it was the caliber of a player that passed him. Because LeBron is loud, boisterous, lacks humility. He sure did. And LeBron is like a Yankee turkey. So I could definitely sense that. He did. He changed the rules in college. He's one of those guys that changed the game. And Kareem would be scary today. Let him play center somewhere today with a legit situation. He'd be scary. His style would fit in real good. But I understand why he didn't like it. LeBron is not, for the people that are low key or just about their business, the workman style. He's still brash. He's still, he's trapped 18 trapped in 38 because he still wants the me crowd and he wants the Instagram love and all that. Oh yeah. As much issues I had with Kobe, and I had a love-loathe thing with certain things he did, I never questioned his scoring. Sometimes he didn't score because he pouted and he acted indifferent. But I know if he had gone about it like that, he would have broke the record. You saw what kind of reaction he got when he passed Jordan up. And, he humbled himself. So, even though Kobe wasn't likable like that, he was more respected. People more respected him than they do LeBron. Oh, yeah. Well, longevity. And the other thing that he's got going for him is that he's been the biggest NBA player and one of the biggest athletes during the social media era. That's what he got going for him. That helps out a lot because there is no tape delays. There is no VHS. It's all DVD, Blu-ray, and all the latest technology and social media conglomerate you got. So people have seen him in real time. And it's not like you got to watch some grainy video and put some duct tape and some chicken grease and say, okay, we're gonna make splashes together. Hold on just 1 second. I gotta hit this doorbell. Hold on real quick. Okay, I'm back. Check that out. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think the fans today, so-called fans, are worse than they were ever because I got a buddy of mine. We cool until he starts dissing Bill Russell and talks that JJ Redick crap. And I was like, look, man, you gotta respect every era. I did. I respected the '60s and the '70s. I grew up before years before my time because I went back on it. For all this technology people have today, for all this escape it, the so-called Wikipedia era, people are ignorant and don't want to acknowledge what came before them. I can have conversations. When I talk to you and I talk to anybody, if I'm talking sports, music, movies, or politics, a lot of it just comes from memory. Okay? And what I remember. I ain't gotta come up and you can tell that I can freestyle because I remember these athletes or I remember these entertainers or these people. And I had a problem with 80s basketball growing up for one main reason. They disrespected the Oscar Robinsons, the Walt Clyde Frazier's, the Earl Monroes, the Will Chamberlains, the Jerry West. They disrespected Dr. J because they wanted to push everything like it started in 80s, MTV thing. Kind of like in the music business, what they did with Michael and Prince and stuff, where they excluded certain eras. So they've done that in the NBA. They were starting to push that agenda. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. See, and I can respect you because you got knowledge and you got respect. And the the they come along letting some scrub like JJ Redick say that mess on TV. They let him say that mess about Jerry West, and you just don't do that. You do better, you know. Cause see, JJ Redick wouldn't even be able to hold Danny Ainge's jock strap. Okay. So for him to come out there and say stuff, Kendrick Perkins, and it's okay if you want to come out and say LeBron belongs and Steph belongs and Durant belongs, and it's okay if you want to say Giannis and Jokic. Because I've said this. 80s basketball is my favorite era. 90s was brutal to watch, but it was physical. And you know, and since then, we've had great players. Not so many great teams, but great players. But I'm not disrespecting no eras because I know better. I know better because I remember how I seen in the 80s where everybody had identity, had their own style, and the way they played, and the coaches too. JJ Redick and is being pushed by the agenda. Gilbert Arenas is bought paid for. So he has to go for views and clicks. He's basically on some Kanye West tip. So that's what he's doing to act like he has to say that stuff. But you can't go back in time and act like, that you can just say, well, they wouldn't have made it. There was a different way of ball back then. Different way of ball. David Stern and the powers that be have controlled what they want because they wanted more of a physical brand, but they didn't want the Pistons ball, but they want physical. So that's why he had low scoring games. After the Olympics, when they had the U.S. against the world, they felt sorry they brought that agenda from European in. Okay. So what you see is a reflection of what they want to generate. Just like by the day, they want jump shooting. They want, there's a certain style that they want. So when cats come out here and say that stuff, they're talking like like if I watch a show from like humor and you say, well, you couldn't get away with that today, or you could say that, but that's what was legislated at the time. But Gilbert benefited from an era that allowed him to be more carefree in his streaky shooting. JJ Redick benefited from a Steph Curry to be a set shot, come off the field like that. But could they have made it back then? And I'm gonna let you know the story. 40 years ago, Isaiah Thomas played where you had the highest scoring game against the Denver Nuggets. And when they played that game, they scored. They scored more points then with the defenses and stuff. So I don't know what the heck these cats is talking about, when they act like teams scored. Teams play defense. They body you up. They play different ways. I don't know. So, but I don't pay no mind. It's good comedy. Gilbert Arenas also had a comment where he said that Michael Jordan was bigger than Michael Jackson. I did a video about that. So, he sure would. Dan Issel too. Alex English too. Adrian Danley, who would get to the free throw line like James Harden back then. Kelly Tripucka. Bernard King. I'll name cats that weren't considered, or guys who were great, or guys who weren't, and would blow up. Sleepy Floyd. Come on now. Fred Downtown Brown, who could knock shots down for the Supersonics back in the day. Come on now. Don't get me started. Because I ain't just digging names out the back end. I know these cats could play. There was a 3-point line, wasn't what it was. Sigma had a 6 shot. He shot that ball up over his head. He been sick today. He sure will. Jamal Wilkes too. Silky Wilkes would have been even more filthier. So there's a lot of guys that, because of the circumstances we was in. So hold on real quick. I gotta check something. Hold up, don't move. Oh yeah, Bill Walton don't get hurt. Yeah, no doubt. Big Smooth. Yeah, hold on, be right back. Big Smooth. For sure. Hold on. Clear that up. Okay, I'm back. John Starks, Brian. Um, Let me address those. Walton, if he's healthy, Great White would have been something. Health is what cost Walton. Because Walton in Portland was a beast. And he did great in Boston at the role. Went to the Clippers, he was, kind of soggy, obviously his legs injuries and stuff, but one of the greatest college players ever. Early era in Portland, he was giving Kareem problems. Only people I ever seen give Kareem problems was Bill Walton and Moses Malone. And Walton was one of them. Big Smooth Perkins settled for being an outside threat shooter. I mean, he's almost ahead of his time because his style would fit so deadly because that's what George Karl had him doing in Seattle. And he got bigger and he became more of a perimeter post after he left the Lakers. So, Starks, if he played today, he might have been the Fred VanVleet. Maybe. Big Country never got a chance to really develop his game. He was good, but I don't know how well he could have gone with it. And Christian Laettner, great. For my era, my eyesight, one of the 5 to 6 greatest college careers. NBA career, his NBA career ain't that memorable. Wasn't that memorable. Now, the one we got with Miami in there, 1 year when they lost to Detroit, and he was with Shaq. He came to Miami and D Wade, but most of his NBA career wasn't memorable. Oh, Glenn Rice. Oh, good call. This guy could score. He was with the Lakers at 67 win team with Shaq and Kobe. So at some time he was more finesse on it, and his Miami year was good. Charlotte, Dale Ellis is the guy forgotten man. Talk about Steph, Bird, Clay, Reggie Miller, Ray Allen. Dale is kind of forgotten. He was lethal. Just played with crappy teams and never. And he was a bit more of himself. Would be interesting had he played with somebody. Danny Manning was just injuries. College, he was a legit player. Just didn't have the right, had injuries. Injuries worked against him. That's what it was. That's what it was. Because I liked him in college. Danny Manning was the truth, He was the truth. If you got a chance to see him, you know what I mean. But injuries robbed him. That happened to a few guys. One of my favorite players back in the 80s was Michael Ray Richardson. It's just the cocaine got the best of him. Oh, Sharif. The quietest 20-point average I knew. And you could almost say he was like a stat pattern. He could score, but I just wasn't that big on him. I'll take Roger Bell over him. Because Roger Bell made himself into a good scorer. I wasn't big on Sharif. Nick Van Exel. Had one of the sickest left-hand crossover moves. But a good example that the Lakers had too much talent, too much for their own good. Well, Dale Harris had him, Eddie Jones, Shaq, and Kobe, and they couldn't get it done. Nick did ball in the playoffs. I think for Dallas, he had that he went off. He's one of them guys that should have been bigger than he was. Michael Adams had a quick first step, could go to the hole. Denver was a fun squad. I mean, they had some cats that could flat out score. When you think about the Nuggets' history, Michael Adams was quick. It's just that, again, they weren't, There was a story about him, and I had to do talking about him. A waste of talent. As a matter of fact, I remember reading ESPN, the magazine, 20 years ago. I went to a magazine store. That's when the ESPN Weekly, Jordan was on the cover. But a referee who went anonymous said he would never give him a call because he was a waste of talent. And he was. Derek Coleman should have been the link between Karl Malone and Kevin Garnett. Should have been the link. Had a nasty shot. Just didn't play up. Just had this, it was like a dark cloud. Should have been great. Should have been an all-time great. And just wasted away. That's how I have to call it when I talk about Derek Coleman. Well, then when he came to Seattle, he was traded for Sean Kemp. He was considered a good brother. And I remember, you're gonna laugh. This was it 97 when he got traded for Sean? They had this turkey sing the national anthem, and he was all off key and all drunk. Sounded like your drunk uncle that had been drinking the fruit punch bowl and dip. Just say, ooh. And the white folk loved him. Vin had gotten exposed because he was an all-star caliber once upon a time, but then he got all, I don't know what happened. I don't know. I just remember they traded him because Kemp was somehow the bad Negro. He was the good Negro. And he was good in Milwaukee. I think he was rocking the Jordan shoes. He had some moment. And funny, when you mentioned his name, my homeboy used to crack up at the stuff they did for him. Because, I don't know, when I think about Vin, he had, as you said it, but he got out to Seattle and he just got in the moon. If it was the drugs, chasing snow bunnies, I don't know what it was. I don't know. But he wasn't quite the same. He had a little bit more rawness in Milwaukee. And he got out to Seattle and he just got kind of tweaked. So, but You got a Negro out there singing the national anthem. They got plans for him. You already know. And it ain't got nothing to do with basketball. But they say, we sure feel comfortable with him. He's a good one. I know I'd say Richard Pryor before your time. I say Chappelle during your time. And you saw Paul Mooney. But you could see a good Clarence Thomas spoof of a guy like Jamaica. Like, he's a good one. We need him. We really like the way he is. See, I do a lot of these white corporate boardroom cats go around, being in different sectors. And some of you folks be talking real stiff. I'm like, we're gonna really utilize all the assets of him. And then he'd be like, for me, yes, the boss. Now, I'm not saying he was a Tom, but he definitely went passive, though. And his game was never the same. Well, Carl is a black redneck. And Carl is one of them, they're black folks that live in the bushes, that think in the bushes. And he fit in without fitting in. Because he, just because you're a black redneck or you do things, I don't necessarily he's a Tom, but he definitely, let's just say that he had to prove himself, but he does have black roots behind it all. It's just that, because one thing about Carl is that he never go out of his way for white folk, not to do interviews, because actually, if you think about it, he's been low-key since he's been retired. And he did that interview with Isaiah Thomas. And let me keep it 100. Isaiah was never crossover brother. That's one of the reasons why Isaiah is still mad. When I do my takes in Too Raw, and I defend Isaiah, I defend him for a few reasons, because Isaiah is one of the greatest players, one of my favorite players. And he had every right to be pissed and ticked. He should have been on Dream Team. He had credentials like Jordan did. He went against man. It's a trip how Isaiah Thomas, and I don't want to veer off on this with Karl Malone, but it's a trip how Isaiah Thomas is treated less than Hakeem Olajuwon's rings, and it was Impact. He fit in, but he was also, he don't talk much. So I never got him to when they ask him his all-time favorite players and stuff, he speaks his mind. So I never got him where, I could say it, but let's just say I've never quite heard him say something so shuffle that I thought, okay. When I say so shuffle, because see, people still hold that about Jordan, talk about Republicans buy shoes too. I ain't never heard Karl Malone come out and say, Well, let me address first what Ted asked. Well, Zeke was considered too much of a Negro from the hood in Chicago. They weren't the first time people. No. The Celtics walked off the floor against Detroit. No one ever said anything about Larry Bird, Kevin McHale not shaking a hand. It's because the powers that be wanted Michael Jordan to be Michael Jordan. If you watched Home Alone, did you watch Home Alone? There's a scene in there with a cardboard when Macaulay Culkin's character is using Jordan's reflection to offset Joe Pesci. Michael Jordan had won no ring at the time, but his cardboard was used. I know he was in Chicago, but his cardboard was used. That was product placement. You ain't never seen no Isaiah Thomas product placement, not in a Pillsbury Doughboy commercial. Okay, just saying. So yes, they tell you you're supposed to win. They tell you you're supposed to be team leader. You're supposed to be all-star and all that. And Isaiah Thomas couldn't even get a cool cigarettes ad above the hood. Just saying. Bird comments with him and Rodman, but he said it in jest, but he also said it because he said what some of the other brothers wanted to say. They weren't going to. Isaiah is playing for Detroit. There's a black place with a black back. So, but we knew Bird was better than that. But he said what someone wanted to say. I don't think it. I think that the fact that he just was never accepted in that world is the thing. He got treated too black. There are players who get treated too black. Dr. J for me gets treated too black because they don't really give Julius Erving his full due. Because a lot of it, because he went to ABA and had the big afro, and they ain't forgot. Moses Malone was considered too black. Sometimes you can be successful and considered too black. And too black means I can't say to white folks without them being scared. Because you know good and well Ben Wallace and Detroit Pistons never got no love over there. Tim Duncan, believe it or not, too. If you're not got some crossover sheen in you, you can't sell no jerseys. We really don't have much use for you. And David Stern, to make sure they put the coins. See, when I talk sports, I don't just talk sports, and I don't just talk music, and I don't just talk movies. They all connect in one thing, right? You got to bring the coins. You don't bring the coins, they can act like you won, and they can give you the Larry Holmes treatment, okay? I've had this conversation with quite a few friends. Don't sell no jerseys. I don't care how great you are. You got to be able to sell the white world. You got to be able to sell that endorsement dollar. And that, there are guys who ain't never won nothing, but the hype machine got them over. Because Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady ain't won, but their hype machine is way bigger than Isaiah Thomas was. Stop me if I'm lying. Nate, for me, great question. I'm going to always go with the Hitman. I saw too many fights growing up. I like JJ, but Hitman Hearns, that 3 rounds of boxing against Marvelous Marvin Hagler, still probably my 2 to 3 greatest fights I've ever seen in my life. And Hitman, I remember when he hit Duran, we thought Duran was dead. You know, Hitman was my dude. The only thing that Hitman, he just didn't have no legs. He had chicken legs, and just kind of cost him. He got robbed in the second Sugar Ray fight more than the first one. And he should have been at least a draw the first one. The second one, he beat him. But Hitman for me. No knock against JJ. Hitman for me. Shavers. I want to say George Foreman. I want to say Joe Frazier. And then I give Tyson his due. But Foreman for me, and I do respect the Sonny Liston too. But George Foreman for me, that man could pound. You had to be an Ali to take that and understand the mechanics involved. Foreman could pound. And Joe Frazier could get that job. So, but Shavers is one of the most underrated, underappreciated because he wasn't as dominant as a winner as those guys. And that's what holds him back. Because there were tiers to this, and those other guys were bigger and what have you. But Shavers wasn't nothing nice. So, that's good. I like these boxing ones. Thank you for bringing boxing up. Because that's a lost time and lost space. You know. And when I talk boxing, that's what I'm talking about. Because when he beat Michael Moores at 94, I remember that he was like 45, and everybody was clowning how he was older and all that. And he knew he couldn't beat him on the scorecard, but he got him. And Foreman could pound. He could pound. He could pound. He could pound. He I seen him fight, and he hit hard. He hit hard. So, you know. Roy Jones Jr. was a technician with this. He got you. He hit you with strong combinations. The only guy I ever seen that when he was on HBO with him and Jimmy Lampley, he used to talk and be fighting and talking and fighting. And he was entertaining. He was definitely for his time. For his time. See, I like to do that. See, boxing is something just like when we talk about other sports. Guys were great for their time period. Some guys, you can say they're timeless, so we can make argument and debate. But it's good to respect guys from different eras and times because you saw it. It's just like Sugar Ray Robinson. For his time, he was something else. Floyd Mayweather, for his time, I've never seen another guy who can beat you with defense like him. So guys have different things that represents different eras for their time. Oscar was great for his time, but he was also kind of like the Alex Rodriguez, kind of like he was a crossover Mexican fight. He could fight, but was he better than Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.? I don't know. But Oscar had the crossover appeal. And that fight against Sweet Pea Whitaker, some fights I kind of like, But Oscar had a nice jab. He was for his time. Manny was tough. And if Floyd had to fought him earlier, who knows how that would have turned out. Because Manny was tough for a long time. I seen a lot of guys have great runs, and then, Oscar did. B-Hop did too. B-Hop still had a moment or two. I think Oscar's, once the fame, pretty boy imagery and all that went out the window, kind of. Small guys. Prince Nassim was one of the most hype cats I ever saw. But I have to give Rafael Gomez the age there. But Prince Nassim was definitely one of the most hype cats. He was cool for a moment. I liked him. I liked his jab, but I think I give Rafael the age there. But he was definitely an entertainer. And had he was able to sustain a little bit longer, they definitely had a hype for him. See, because boxing is probably like the precursor to OnlyFans if you think about it. Because it ain't just about how talented you are, it's how your imagery, and then they can sell you and market you and spin you. You don't usually think about some bulky cat or like featherweight or cruiserweight or middleweight, etc., as a model, but they are like really like on the auction if you think about it. Oh, Larry Holmes, look, Riddick Bowe had all the makings of like an Ali style. He was like a narrative. He was almost like a clone, and that fight against Evander Holyfield 92, he went in there. He had moments, but I don't always think he was focused. I remember he had Rolling Stone magazine. The hype was there for him. You want to talk about somebody when I talk about the machine getting behind you. And boxing is notorious for that. We don't talk about it enough because it's a macho, manly, you don't. But boxing is like a plantation auction, but it's also like a Miss America, like an American pageant. Because these guys, it ain't just on their skills. It's on their looks, appeal. It's on the dollars. And some of these guys, Riddick was known for hype. I don't know if his boxing game was matched the hype they had for him. But Larry Holmes is so underrated. He could pound you. He was a great fighter. His problem, and I had a buddy of mine say it, he said Larry Holmes was kind of like R. Kelly. You dominant in an era where there's nothing to compete against. And so, sometimes you look so invincible because there's nothing else out there that's really getting you, and he beat what they put around him. He did get robbed in that Michael Spinks fight. And he came out, and Watched him on Vlad talk and stuff. 7th grade education. But the brother made himself something. Got his own jailhouse, different things. He invested. He made himself self-made man. I got respect for Larry Holmes. But when he beat Ali, Tyson held it. People held stuff against him when he was just doing what he's supposed to do. So sometimes you don't get respect, and there's so much politics involved. In boxing, yeah, believe it or not, it's like the real. With everything Colin Kaepernick said, and Dwayne Wade said about the auction plantation that applies to boxing for real. We just don't talk about it. That's a real auction too. That's in there. Oh yeah, my favorite British fighters too. Cat could hit. Cat was strong. And he had what I call some crossover appeal. He wasn't loved like Frank Bruno, because the Brits loved him. But Lennox was to me, the brother. I like Lennox a lot. Lennox was cool to me. Lennox one of them cats you feel like he could chop it up with. He could hit. He was on his assignment. He was straightforward. So, So yeah. Yeah, we're getting into some good topics here. It's nice to bring up talk about boxing. And I can go into a whole different tangent about it because Chris Eubanks Sr. I'm gonna have to get back on the Chris Eubanks one. I'm gonna get back on that. I'm gonna discuss Holyfield first. One of the most long-winded, strongest, great fighters. He did all the tactics, you could almost say he was kind of like the Karl Malone of boxers, because he was physical presence, and he did little things in between, but he could fight. He could definitely go distance. And Holyfield never quite got to do, but he was great. And Holyfield adapted to so many different things. I remember that Riddick Bowe fight when that dude came down on parachute, and he wasn't fighting pretty well that night, but he did enough to bring himself back. And Holyfield was a guy that, style-wise, he did tactics. They all do. Yeah, I mean, he's top 10. And you can't say he went too long. You can't. I'll give you that. But I remember his best stuff, though. And I think he more than met the criteria of a top-tier fighter. Because he had the wing capacity, he had the longevity, and he mixed it up. He was a smart fighter. Took care of himself. He did have crossover appeal, but I like how he prepared himself. I like how he prepared himself. He was definitely a top tier fighter. Mm-hmm. One of my favorites. Because I definitely think he would have been a problem for Tyson, even in Tyson's peak and prime. There's something about Holyfield's styling. You have to get used to his tangibles so he could do. So, definitely. I got to think back on Eubanks Sr. I really do. Give me a minute. In any weight class, I'm going to give Joe Louis his due. For strictly knocking you out, Tyson, gotta have him in there. Sugar Ray Robinson, want to say Sonny Liston. And I want to probably make a mix between Floyd Patterson and Ray Boom Boom Mancini, if I can. Those guys come to mind. But it's such a, debatable. Yeah, it's so debatable. There's a lot of guys to debate. But across weight classes, yeah. Because see, what I love about boxing is Foreman, yeah. What I love about boxing is there were so many styles to it that it's hard to, because you can throw names and you get different styles and ways they approach you. So it's kind of tough. I have to think about this off random. Remember, I'm going back, but Joe Louis could bomb. He could bomb. And I want to say Mercer for me. I remember Tony had he had a couple fights which I thought he kind of got exposed. He was tough. Oh yeah, Wilder was a bad boy. But Mercer showed me a little bit, I think Tony was tough though. They was tough, but I seen a couple of things where I give Mercer just a slight edge for me personally. Yeah, good call on Wilder. Because sometimes you forget about, And again, I got to think about different classes and stuff. Because I got to think about. I want to talk about Aaron Pryor. I'm thinking about, there are different guys that come to mind. Marvin Hagler, one of my favorite, knock your butt out, physical, strong. Underrated knockout fighter, which people don't give him because his style and his dancing and aura overtook so much, was Sugar Ray Leonard. Because you ever see that Wilfred Benitez fight? You see that fight against Danny Lalonde in the late 80s, how he beat up him and lied about his weight and put coins and stuff. He doesn't get his due. He doesn't get his due as far as that goes. Because he had some punch. Don't let the smile and the Jerry curl and the 7-Up fool you. So there's a lot of guys that they just weren't known predominantly for it. And boxing is so versatile. See, that's why Ali for me is the GOAT, for the fact that he was the one guy that didn't compromise all of that as one. On it all day. Because he understood how to adapt to different fighters. Not everybody could. And see, that's the fighters that always leave the lasting impression on me, how they adapt. Because some guys were going in for the power, some guys were going in there for the long, drawn-out fight, and some guys were just trying to catch you with a haymaker. They were trying to catch you, So it's just a matter of how your approach was to it. Different fighters, different styles. That's the nice thing and the beauty of it. So, oh yeah. Yeah. But there were a lot of, that's why I hate the greats and GOATs debates about picking one. This is like with basketball, football, baseball. Well, baseball, I'm more aligned to Barry Bonds as far as the eyeball test, how great he was. But then you ask me after Barry, there's a long line of guys I can go 2 through 10 with, Depends on what you're going by, with your criteria, because it's different in different sports, Most of the time what we like in fighters is they were dominant in the ring, and they also, yeah, Pete Rose was great. Charlie Hustle, the Larry Bird of baseball. I can say that unequivocally. For his time frame, he was nice. Strong, powerful impact. Why they didn't win no rings with him and Manny Ramirez, I'll never know. He went to the White Sox, I remember. But he also was one of those cats that he didn't get the white media a lot of love, so they couldn't wait to get anything on him. But he was tough during his time. Yeah, he was tough during his time. because I remember that. Appreciate you, Nate. I mean, I'm glad you came through, and I appreciate the questions and bringing the boxing and talking about different things. I appreciate that tenfold. I always welcome, uh, you know, anything we talk about. That's what we talk about. I much respect to Ted always coming through because we talk about football so much. I decided to flip it with basketball a bit more because the season starting out to see people on the talk. And then you brought in the boxing, which is great. And then sometimes we talk about music. Uh, we ain't really gotten into too much political. We brought up Chappelle. We brought up that was a good part. We brought about I blended into different things because I mean, life is not just one thing. But I like how we're able to get into different nuances. I'm impressed. Thank you, Nate, because when we talk about boxing, I never do. Even with the videos I do, I'm always so busy talking about the auctioning of football players because you think the big black buck in football or in basketball with Dwayne Wade and Kaepernick said, but boxing is front and center with that slave mindset, what they really are. Because you is front and center. Jack Johnson scared them, but they loved it. It's just double-edged things that's going on. So it was good to bring it up and talk about some of the best fighters ever and weight classes and styles and what you remember in matches. So, which is a lost time. It's a lost era. Because I remember growing up in a time when boxing and baseball were the cat's meow, and football was like a tier below. In the NBA, which was considered either too black or too predictable, unless you're talking ABA, heads weren't really, till they commercialized it with Magic and Bird and David Stern and all that. And then it became like an MTV thing. And then you saw the snowball to what you got now, the global. So, so it's great topics. I mean, appreciate that. So, and yeah, I had a great time today. Thank you. Again, I got inspired because it's the start of the NBA season, and I not really talk much about. I mean, I don't. I'm glad I got some predictions. Some people said some stuff. I hope the NBA is unpredictable. I got a feeling it won't be, but it's good. Oh, you saw that? I told you. I can't make this up. I can't make that up because I was living near Seattle at the time, and when he got traded, and Kemp was the bad guy. Kemp, of course, as you know, when he got traded to Milwaukee and then later Cleveland, he became Clump. He started eating all them donuts and he got all big. But Shawn Kemp fell out with George Karl. Played great in the NBA Finals against the Bulls, and that's the last Shawn Kemp I ever saw. But if they get Vin in here and they get him next to them white girls, and next thing I know is, "Oh, say, can you see?" And I was like, is he trying to give Carl Lewis a run for his money for the anthem? I was dying. I mean, I was cracked up. But they loved it. Yep. And see, I saw that mess in real time. I was like, oh God. Me and my homeboy was clowning him. We was calling him all kinds of we called him Glenn. We called him Vin Toss Baker. We said they didn't turn this turkey out. Because Seattle, they have black folks. They like you to kind of shuffle in certain areas because you saw what happened with the Seahawks. Legion Boom became too black, ran them out, tried to push a Russell Wilson. And you remember that interception. There is a history with Seattle and how they whitewashed the brothers. You saw how Earl Thomas flipped Pete Christmas Carol off when he got off the sideline. And I'm just saying. Now, interestingly, Marshawn Lynch still keeps love in Seattle. He still gets videos and stuff because his appeal. But he was, Yep. They like him like that, though, especially in the Northwest. They do. Just Ken Griffey Jr. fit in, and he was a great player, but, they don't like you to be too black. Gary Payton could scare some of them white folks. They respect this game, but he scared a lot of them, too. I tell you all the time when You hear cats say what my white contemporary people don't, when they hear the plantation auction, they say, well, you're well paid slave, you're well paid this. What they don't understand is the buck dance and the bucking that they do to push the agenda. Because we're not looking at guys just on their ability. We're not just giving guys dapped up. This is it's a business within a business. This ain't about wins and losses, it's about dollars and cents too. So they don't just look at you because you are, he was dark skinned. He just had that charge a few months ago about that gun thing in the parking lot in Tacoma. He was macking on a lot of chicks too. And, yeah. I once met this chick, and she wasn't the most stunningest chick, but she was messing with Kendall Gill. And if you remember Kendall Gill, he's played for the Sonics. He had a little S curl, didn't quite come all the way out. He had that Luther S curl, didn't quite blow out like Cedric the Entertainer said before he went to the Nets. But yeah, she was messing with this chick because she talked about Kendall Gill, and I used to crack up off of that. I hear cats out in these streets talking about some of these some of the stuff. So I saw Turo that did that thing about Dwight Howard, and I touched it, but I really didn't. Yeah, he would. He would. His style would definitely. He would. I don't know how great he'd be, but he definitely would help Charlotte. I'll say that. Brooklyn, he could keep a job. He could definitely keep a job. Yeah, I mean, we knew. We knew. What a lot of people don't know is there's quite a bit that goes on in the NBA. It's just that, again, powers that be, they know. T-Mac said it 20 years ago, and we played for Rock. He said he's seen some strange things in the locker. He was the first cat I know to openly say about. So it's, it's there. My problem with Dwight Howard, though, is that he just was soft in terms of his head game because he never developed an offensive move, and he could have been way better. Way better. Yeah. Well, Steph has crossed over. Steph gets away, and I'm watching Riemann Rolling Stone there. He talks about Black Lives. He funding the golf. I want to say is it in Howard University? He's donating. Um, Steph is lovable, likable. That sort of thing. He's not a threat. He play in the Bay. He ain't gonna be mistaken for Huey Newton. So he ain't no threat. But the NBA has always been kind of friendly to whatever they want. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the Black Golf Tournament thing. I mean, what he's donated, and he works in the. I'm not going to get into who's more in this because different brothers and sisters have different approaches. But what I will say is this: I detest this sentiment that LeBron is the most important since Ali and is a knock against Jordan, or they act like LeBron spoken out so much like he lost something like my dude Raul for calling Kaepernick. I resent when people act like he's doing something that other black folks haven't done with less fanfare. It's an insult. It's an insult. There's a lot of black former players and athletes who've given back and done a lot, and they don't get that. And they don't, you can sure Junior Bridgman has done quite a bit. No one's going to talk about it. I can name cats that have done and established their wealth in the communities and done things. It's just not no fanfare with it. Big time Reggie White did, big time. So don't make out one person to be this martyr like the Black Mother Teresa and all this. That's the problem I have. Because they want to make him. And some people call Michael Jordan a time, and some people hated against him and said took shots. And he had some shots coming because he did get a bit much with some of his commercials. But I'm gonna say this about him: He kept his business private. He still does. He's still a mystery to a lot of people. He's been giving up a lot more, but he's still, you know, um, he had to be great to get what he got. They definitely liked him and they definitely needed him and he definitely was a symbol to stuff. But um, to make out LeBron is like, you know, all this for that. Oh yeah, he did. I never said he didn't. I never said he didn't. And that's why I don't ride the Jordan wagon like that. Because some of it was on the court. Some of the stuff he did on the basketball court, such as I think that he iced out, you know, I know he had to for his get hit to where he got, but there were certain things that, you know, was problematic. Certain. Yeah, Jim Brown used to can I am with the gang members. Jim Brown was a very giving black man. Spoke out, you know, rallies. He was strong. He was strong. He was there with Bill Russell, Kareem, him at the summit. So, and Ali, you know, he had crossover appeal, and he was a precursor to OJ as far as doing from football to the movies. And they had a lot of things in common, except Jim Brown did stay to the community a bit more. But Jim Brown was also, let's not get it twisted. When you get in that area, he did have crossover appeal. He wasn't exclusively, but he definitely had his respect, and that's what people stayed on to, because he could talk, and he, you know, he was a combo. He could go in terms of the community, and he could go to Hollywood. So most of them who get to a certain point do buck dance for different reasons. Not saying they all, but it's a different situation. Jordan's situation is because he was the first one that got exploited with the white community as a solo career in the NBA. So he didn't have to have a white tie-in. He got the Eddie Murphy treatment. He could have a generic white dude on the passenger side and be the star. So they pushed it. They did for him what they would never have done for Dr. J. That's all I got to say about that, because Dr. J, you know, didn't get that. That ABA backfired, you know. And you can debate who was better and saying all this, but they didn't want, you know, Dr. J did his own Space Jam with the fish just came out of Pittsburgh, did his own movie. See, nothing's new under the sun, you know. So I'll be on for a few more minutes and I'm going to call it a day. And it's been definitely great, definitely some rewarding conversations and topics, and we touched on a lot of different things this evening. I'm gonna do this again soon, so appreciate you know, everybody came through, and peace and the best. Stay well and stay healthy. Let me know what you think about if you're paying attention to the NBA tonight. Let me know how your team's doing, what your thoughts is on stuff. Feel free, and I'm gonna call it a night. So peace and the best to everybody that came through. Looking forward. All right, I'm out. Peace.